They rarely enter a room loudly. They don't announce themselves with confidence or decorate their presence with opinions. When they arrive, nothing seems to change at first. Conversations continue, laughter carries on, and yet, slowly, something shifts. People become careful with their words, movements soften, eyes begin to glance in their direction without fully committing. These are the silent ones, and Machiavelli understood them better than anyone else. From a distance, silence looks like weakness. In a world addicted to noise, explanation, and constant self-expression, the quiet person is often mistaken for someone with nothing to say, nothing to offer, nothing to hide. But Machiavelli saw the opposite. He saw silence as concealment, as control, as a weapon so subtle that most people never realize they are being defeated by it. Because the truth is, power rarely shouts. It watches. It waits. It listens while others reveal themselves. Machiavelli lived in a time where a single sentence could cost you your life, where careless words traveled faster than armies and loyalty shifted overnight. In courts filled with polished smiles and sharpened daggers, those who spoke too much didn't survive long. They exposed their desires, their fears, their ambitions. They told the room exactly who they were and what they wanted. And once known, they were predictable. And once predictable, they were easy to remove. The silent ones were different. They moved through conversations like shadows, absorbing everything, offering almost nothing. While others argued passionately about morality, loyalty, or honor, the silent ones studied reactions, who leaned forward when power was mentioned, who grew tense when names were spoken, who laughed too hard to hide discomfort. Silence turned observation into intelligence, and intelligence into leverage. There is a moment Machiavelli hints at repeatedly, though he never states it outright. A moment where the loud man believes he is winning because he dominates the conversation, while the quiet man is winning because he dominates the future. Think about how often people talk themselves into vulnerability. They explain their decisions, defend their mistakes, justify their emotions. They believe that being understood will protect them. But explanation is exposure. Every reason given is a weakness revealed. Every justification becomes a thread someone else can pull. The silent person offers none of that. When you say nothing, people begin to fill the silence for you. They project their assumptions, their fears, their expectations, and in doing so, they tell you everything about themselves. Silence turns the other person into the speaker, the confessor, the one on trial. And without realizing it, they give you the upper hand. Machiavelli knew that authority grows when it is not constantly asserted. A ruler who explains himself appears uncertain. A leader who over-communicates appears dependent on approval. But the one who speaks sparingly, who allows mystery to surround his intentions, becomes larger than life. People imagine his depth. They fear his restraint. They respect what they cannot fully understand. Silence creates gravity. There's an uncomfortable tension that forms when someone refuses to explain themselves. It unsettles people. It forces them to question where they stand. Did they offend you? Are you judging them? Are you planning something? That discomfort often pushes others to overcompensate. They talk more. They reveal more. They try to regain control. And in that imbalance, power quietly shifts. This is why Machiavelli warned against unnecessary honesty, not because truth is dangerous, but because timing is everything. Silence preserves optionality. It keeps your next move hidden. It allows you to adapt while others remain locked into positions they announced too early. Look closely at history, and you'll notice a pattern. The figures remembered as strategic geniuses were rarely the most talkative. They were measured, reserved, deliberate. Their words felt heavy because there were so few of them. When they finally spoke, people listened not because of volume, but because of restraint. In modern life, the same law applies, though the battlefield has changed. Social media, meetings, relationships, arguments everywhere. People rush to be heard. They mistake visibility for influence. They believe that silence means irrelevance. But the ones who truly shape outcomes often do so quietly, behind the scenes, letting others fight in the open while they position themselves where it matters. Silence also protects your inner world. The more you speak, the more you dilute your thoughts. The more you explain, the more you invite interference. The silent person keeps their motivations intact. Their ambitions remain unpolluted by outside opinions. They move with clarity because they are not constantly negotiating their identity with the world. Machiavelli understood human nature deeply enough to know that people respect what resists them. Easy access breeds contempt. Constant availability erodes authority. Silence, on the other hand, creates distance, and distance creates value. But this law is often misunderstood. Silence is not passivity. It is not fear. It is not submission. True silence is intentional. It is chosen. It is the calm of someone who knows they don't need to prove anything yet. Someone who understands that the most dangerous move is often the one no one sees coming. There is a moment in every power struggle where words stop helping, where arguments repeat themselves, where explanations only dig deeper holes. In that moment, silence becomes dominance. It signals that you are no longer playing the same game, that you are observing from above, not reacting from within. People who talk too much are always reacting to criticism, to praise, to pressure. They are pulled by the emotional currents of the room. Silent people choose when to move. They choose when to reveal, and that choice alone gives them control. Machiavelli would tell you that the world is not won by those who announce their intentions, but by those who allow others to underestimate them. Silence is the mask that makes underestimation possible. While others rush forward, the silent one remains unseen, calculating, waiting for the moment when action will matter more than words ever could. And when that moment arrives, it often feels sudden to everyone else. They say it came out of nowhere. They didn't see it coming, but it didn't come from nowhere at all. It came from silence, from patience, from watching while others spoke themselves into predictable corners. The irony is that silence often feels uncomfortable to hold. The urge to explain, to clarify, to defend yourself can be overwhelming. The ego wants recognition, the mind wants relief. But Machiavelli's law demands discipline. It demands trust in the long game, trust that not every thought needs a voice, and not every reaction deserves expression. Because once words are spoken, they cannot be taken back. But silence remains flexible, alive, powerful. The silent people always win not because they are smarter, stronger, or more ruthless, but because they understand something most people never learn. That power doesn't come from being seen. It comes from being unreadable. It comes from allowing others to reveal themselves first. It comes from mastering the space between action and restraint. And in a world that never stops talking, silence becomes the rarest advantage of all. Silence does something else that few people ever recognize while it's happening. It changes the way time moves around you. When you are loud, reactive, constantly explaining yourself, time feels rushed. You are always catching up, always responding, always trying to correct impressions that formed too quickly. But when you are silent, time slows. You are no longer chasing moments, you are shaping them. Machiavelli understood that power belongs to those who control the tempo. Wars are not won by the fastest armies, but by the ones that strike when the enemy is tired. Conversations are not dominated by the most vocal speaker, but by the one who decides when the conversation ends. Silence grants you that control. It allows you to let others exhaust themselves while you conserve energy, clarity, and intent. Think about how people behave when they don't know what you're thinking. They become cautious. They replay their words in their head after speaking to you. They wonder how they came across. They ask themselves whether they said too much. That mental noise drains them. Meanwhile, you remain still, untouched, unaffected. Silence becomes asymmetrical warfare. One side expends energy, the other observes. This is why Machiavelli warned rulers against becoming overly familiar. Familiarity invites entitlement. When people feel they know you completely, they stop respecting you. They believe they can predict you, influence you, manipulate you. Silence disrupts that illusion. It keeps the boundary intact. It preserves distance without hostility, authority without aggression. In many ways, silence is the purest form of confidence. It doesn't demand attention. It doesn't seek validation. It doesn't need applause. It exists independently of reaction. And that independence is threatening to those who rely on external affirmation to feel powerful. You'll notice this especially in confrontations. The person who raises their voice is usually the one losing control. The one who over-explains is usually the one trying to regain ground. The silent one, steady and unreadable, forces the other side to confront their own insecurity. Words become weapons that turn inward. Machiavelli saw that people mistake emotional expression for strength. They believe passion proves conviction. But passion also reveals attachment, and attachment creates leverage. When you care enough to argue, you care enough to be hurt. Silence removes that leverage. It denies your opponent the satisfaction of reaction. There is a dangerous freedom in not needing to respond. This doesn't mean silence always looks powerful. In the short term, it can look like defeat. People may talk over you. They may misinterpret your quiet as agreement or weakness. They may feel emboldened. But Machiavelli never cared about short-term appearances. He cared about outcomes. And outcomes favor those who endure discomfort without surrendering position. Silence tests people. It exposes who needs dominance and who is comfortable with uncertainty. Those who cannot tolerate silence often reveal themselves quickly. They push boundaries. They provoke. They escalate. And in doing so, they show you exactly how to handle them when the time comes. Because silence does not mean inaction. It means preparation. The most powerful decisions are rarely announced. They are executed. Machiavelli knew that the moment you speak about a plan, you invite interference. Advice becomes pressure. Opinions become obstacles. Silence shields intention until it is irreversible. This is why the silent people always seem to strike at the perfect moment. They aren't reacting to chaos. They are creating resolution. While others debate possibilities, the silent ones commit quietly, decisively, and without spectacle. There is also a psychological cruelty in silence that Machiavelli understood, but never romanticized. Silence denies closure. It leaves people suspended, and human beings hate suspension. They crave certainty even if it hurts them. When you refuse to give that certainty, you control the emotional landscape. That control is subtle, invisible, and therefore far more dangerous than overt dominance. In relationships, silence reveals imbalance. The one who needs constant reassurance speaks more. The one who is secure speaks less. The one who fears loss explains themselves endlessly. The one who is willing to walk away does not. Machiavelli would argue that willingness to lose is the foundation of all power. Silence communicates that willingness without a single word. This is why the silent person is rarely chased, yet always remembered. Their absence speaks louder than their presence ever could. When they leave a room, something lingers. Questions, tension, unfinished thoughts, and people replay interactions, searching for meaning that was never handed to them. Machiavelli knew that humans fear what they cannot read. Not because it is hostile, but because it is uncontrollable. Silence resists manipulation. It cannot be flattered easily. It cannot be argued with effectively. It simply exists, unmoved. But there is a cost to this law. Silence demands emotional discipline. It requires resisting the urge to correct misunderstandings. It means allowing others to believe what they want, even when they are wrong. It means trusting that truth does not always need defense. Most people cannot tolerate that. They speak to relieve anxiety, not to communicate truth. Silence forces you to sit with uncertainty, to accept that not everyone will understand you, and that understanding is not required for power. Machiavelli believed that reputation should be shaped by outcomes, not explanations. Let people judge based on what you do, not what you say. Let results speak in your place. Words fade. Actions echo, and when you finally choose to speak when silence breaks, the impact is disproportionate. People lean in. They listen carefully. They search for meaning in every sentence, because restraint has taught them that your words are not wasted. This is the final paradox of Machiavelli's law. Silence does not erase your voice. It sharpens it. The silent people always win because they understand that life is not a debate to be won with arguments. It is a game of positioning, timing, and perception, and silence masters all three. In the end, the world belongs not to those who speak the loudest, but to those who are heard the moment they finally decide to speak.